Hey Shooby Doodlers, well I have been away on holiday or vacation as you might say, and I've been to Amsterdam in Holland. I went with some friends and we started off from Bristol Airport and we had a little while waiting, and this lady came along. She didn't look quite so cross actually, but she was wearing this amazing hat, looked like she was ready to go to a wedding, and she was already dressed up for it. She kind of felt maybe you would want to get dressed up when you were there. But anyway, I drew her while we were waiting for the plane. And anyway, we got to Amsterdam, and the first thing I noticed as we moved into our apartment, we'd rented an apartment quite near the station, overlooking a canal, and you could look down and see people going into the pissoirs. So these little kind of metal screens the gents could go into to the toilet. It all seemed very public somehow. And anyway, so we went to have something to eat, and did this little picture of my lady wife, which doesn't really look like her, but anyway. As you go around Amsterdam, there's a lot of people come there for stag parties and hen parties, you know, people getting married, and they come and drink an awful lot and they dress up. And they have these bicycle tables. I haven't actually done a drawing of one of those, but they have these kind of tables which are enormous bicycles, and everybody is sitting at the tables are cycling, and they have a beer tap in the middle, so they just drink more and more beer. And the girls came along, this bunch of girls came along all dressed as Vikings, and they were, well, a little bit drunk. Anyway, so I drew them. And there are lots and lots and lots and lots of bicycles in Amsterdam, and you have to be so careful where you walk, because there are trams trying to knock you down, and there are bicycles trying to knock you down, and the cyclists are crazy. They just cycle anywhere. They don't care if they're on the pavement or what. And they all take rides, and you know, so it's a bit crazy again. This is quick sketch of my wife again, not a very good one. And then somebody was having a party on a boat. The World Cup had started, and so people were kind of watching football on barges and things. And of course, if you're on a boat, there's nowhere to go to the toilet. So we saw these two guys sitting up. You can see here I did this very, very quick sketch, and this is a more detailed kind of sketch. So that was at the moment, and this is a bit later, I think. We were having a beer in a bar, and I drew this. And these two guys are standing on the end of the boat, the stern, having a wee, and quite casually just chatting away to each other. Anyway, more bicycles. And this was, I did this, there was a picture in at the Rijksmuseum we went to, and I'm just finished writing a story with a storm in it, and this is a ship here with a little ship coming out to sail. So this is from an old painting. I just really like the angles and the fear and whatever. This is a painting of a mother cleansing a child's hair by Peter de Hoogh. And of course, you know, you didn't have knit creams and things in the old days, so you just have to just pick through people's hair. And I'm writing some stories about it at the moment, and that just seemed really kind of influential for something that I wanted to for the ideas I'm working on at the moment. Everywhere I look, people were taking selfies, and it's just great to kind of draw them, because they're not aware of the rest of the world around them. It's just them and what they're seeing on the screen, and so they kind of do silly things when they're making selfies. Now, near the Rijksmuseum, we went to a cafe, and there are all these kind of pollarded plane trees there, and I was drawing them, and there's this huge, great big 3D kind of sculpture saying "I Amsterdam," where people kind of climb all over it and have their photos taken. So while we were having lunch there, I drew that. And then this is kind of, you know, notes going around the museum looking at paintings. We had a lot of culture. This is a Rembrandt painting which I just did a little sketch of. So most of these are done with rotring pen, and I also had with me my paint box, and this is done here with it's a water soluble graphite pen, so you kind of scribble it in, and then with a water brush or a Derwent aqua brush. This is an aqua brush. Pentel have aqua brushes, Derwent have water brushes, which is what I have with me. Swish all the graphite around, and it's kind of quite effective. Here are more people having selfies, taking selfies on an iPad. It seems really clumsy somehow. There's this great guy here, who was a room attendant, checking we weren't stealing the Rembrandts, and he just looked identical to the people in the Rembrandt paintings. He could have taken him out and put him in the seat. And it's the thing I noticed quite a lot. All those old Flemish paintings, you can still see the faces in those old 12th century, 13th century paintings just walking around the streets of Amsterdam, and which I'd never kind of considered before. And I realised this time all those early religious paintings, there were two types. There's kind of Italian school, and there's the northern school, kind of in the lowlands in Holland and Flemland, whatever it's called. I can't think what it's called. And they all have completely different faces, but those kind of faces spread out and became accepted, if that makes any sense at all. This is Caroline, who I went with, and her husband. We were having supper one night, and there was a tram stop outside, and these two came here, and they were kind of on their way somewhere. There are a lot of funny cigarettes being smoked in Amsterdam. Wherever you go, you can keep smelling this sort of smell. There's more people on their bikes. He's got his dog in his basket, and these great long bikes which you could sort of stick children in. and I think I had here, was there somewhere I saw another. Here, this is on the zebra crossings. You press to get the green man come up, and people would kind of scratch the pictures, and this one had been scratched. I kind of made it more obvious so that it looked like he was talking into a walkie-talkie. This is my learning a little bit of Dutch. Alles goed, bedankt, alsjeblieft, which means please, and also means that's no problem, kind of whatever. So this is a cup of tea in a glass cup. And people cycling around talking on talking on the phone on their iPhones and things, which kind of seemed dangerous to me. We were having another cup of coffee somewhere, and this didn't have very long for this. This was the state, document depository place across the way from us, which is very kind of Art Deco. We went to Foam, which is the photo museum, photography museum, and I know there's this fantastic photograph, a big photograph of this guy in Africa being very butch, and he had this pet hyena who looks the most evil thing in the world with this muzzle on, and yet he was being even more butch than his hyena. and there's a guy there at the museum again, he's just one of these faces that you see in all the paintings around you. It's weird. And I think there was another photograph there. There was somebody wearing a superhero costume but with glasses on, which kind of made me think, can you be a superhero and wear glasses? We went into an old canal house, whose name I just can't remember offhand. And as we went into the garden, there was a sign saying, "Do not let the cat in." So it's the most beautiful little cat. So I did a little drawing of him, and then I was imagining, maybe he seemed really keen to get into the house, and I was kind of imagining maybe the ghosts in the house were trying to be released, and the cat was trying to help the ghosts, and we were keeping the ghosts in by not letting the cat in to help. I don't know. Possible idea for a story. Oh dear, yes, here comes the bridegroom. Like I said, there's a lot of stag parties going around, people getting very drunk and just wandering around in groups. Italians singing songs and German ladies sort of prancing around. And I'm not sure what nationality this lot were, but this is the bridegroom, who was being dressed up in a maid's costume, and he was kind of showing his bottom off to everybody else. This is his friend taking a photo on his phone. This is a kind of a big guy on a bike, and you get people going around on tandems and little motorbikes. And we saw this, we could see on the central station there was this thing there, and we were discussing what the logo was, and we thought it was a phoenix or something like that, but it turned out that we just need glasses, and it was kind of a railway wheel instead. And this is another. I think this must have been another bachelor party. I think, and the guy who was getting married, or anyway, the guy in the middle of this group had this amazing red suit with kind of white dots. I couldn't get close enough. They could have been flowers, and he just stood out. And all his friends were kind of around him, like wearing slightly boring clothes, but they all looked very serious, like they were kind of security guards or something. So maybe he was a pop star, famous. I don't know. Anyway, but he really stood out amongst everything else. While we were in one of the things, I noticed these photographs of people wearing sashes and stars and things, and obviously going to meet the Queen, and they were obviously, aristocracy. And it suddenly dawned, oh, that's what Michael Jackson was up to. Anyone can get a sash and stick some jewellery on their chest and fool everybody else that they are somebody important. Because they're not really. Because the family in the house who was doing all this, they're obviously aristocrats, but they all look really ordinary. There's centuries worth of paintings. None of them looked particularly distinguished. I think they were just bankers, good at making money, but they kind of stick a sash on and a few badges, and everyone will then suddenly think they're important. We watched the Royal Tenenbaums. We had a DVD with us, so these are kind of pictures I did while watching that movie. If you haven't seen it, then this probably doesn't make much sense to you. This was a guy and his wife I saw. That's somebody from painting. This was in the Rijksmuseum again. I think there was a painting here of this very portly man, and there was a very portly person looking at it, and it just almost looked like looking in the mirror. And again, here this girl looked almost like the Virgin Mary in the painting, and I was thinking, sort of, I don't know, I don't know if you know about it, but in schools at Christmas time we have nativity plays of the birth of Jesus, and I think all the girls want to play Mary, and they all kind of dress up like this, and yet in the northern Flemish, because this is a very Italian school painting style, and yet, maybe in Holland they all dress up to look like Virgin Mary does in the northern school of painting, and suddenly I realised these two totally different cultures, and I think maybe somewhere just this picture over here, I was thinking, what? I suppose if you're Chinese, then do you want, if you Chinese and you believe in Jesus and Mary, do you make them look Chinese to reflect your own culture? I don't know. It's just a thought. And here again is that Amsterdam thing. I was trying out a brush pen here, just much harder to handle, but quite effective, I think. So anyway, and these are other people walking past while we were having a cup of coffee or lunch or something like that. I think that, I don't know who that is. I think it was meant to be Leonardo DiCaprio, I think, because we were... No, it could be. We were watching The Wolf of Wall Street as well. Someone walking down the street, somebody... this would have been the Van Gogh Museum. The young man said, I still don't understand, even though he's listening to the commentary. We had a lovely meal out. This is what I had. It's called Saltimbocca. There's veal and parma ham wrapped around white and green asparagus with chanterelles and fried potatoes. And then had poached pear and pear sorbet with little fruits and a biscuit, tuile biscuit they call it. I can't remember who that is. This was breakfast time. Eggs and a little glass jar with salt and pepper and things in it. Access all areas. We were discussing the Wolf of Wall Street, so that's what it came about. This is back. We kind of went down to the Rijksmuseum quite a lot, and this was a guy sitting on top of the tea, and he was obviously feeling quite pleased with himself. And it's kind of started raining a tiny little shower, and there was a guy wearing this green plastic cape. He looked really grumpy, and we were discussing how in Japan the rain has its own spirits, and which is kind of where Pokemon and stuff like that comes from. So he's saying, you let that malicious Japanese weather spirit into the country. And where were we? We went to the Modern Art Museum. I was just kind of looking around, and I had some hands from Picasso and just doing this little thing. And I saw this guy here. There were actually two young men and they came across a painting by Pete Mondrian, and the look on their faces was like just pure adoration and amazement that they were in the presence of a real Pete Mondrian painting. And I did another picture of him here. This is a bit later. I drew this one, and it's kind of me and Pete selfie, and it really, I think we every day at the end of the day, me and my wife and friends, we would say, "What was your favourite bit?" And that was my favourite bit, seeing these two young men being just so excited by being in the presence of a painting. And I remember exactly the same myself when I was about their age, standing in front of a Mondrian, thinking, "Oh my God, it's a real Mondrian painted by the man himself." And I suppose you get a bit older and blasé and whatever, and just to see that, it kind of brought it all back. Think, oh yeah, I used to get that excited, and I suppose I still do about things, but you can't be that excited about everything all the time, and it's sort of really good to see new generations coming along and still being excited about things that I was excited about at their age. This was just there was something I saw. I thought I could get people to pose, draw them with a visualizer and project at the same time and kind of create a story. I don't know. This was a big ass. She had very hairy armpits, and they were kind of like little stars. I like that somehow. And we went to see Jeff Wall. He had an exhibition there with a lot of big photographs, which were kind of like almost like stage sets. I did this, big picture to remind myself to maybe do something bigger. Because you're kind of drawn into the picture and become part of the thing, the scene somehow, and kind of tell the story within the picture. And I was thinking about selfies and selfism, and One Direction One Direction weren't in town, but the Madame Tussauds waxworks were. This is a blueberry muffin. And this is a guy on the tram. He looks so sad listening to his... I finally had this tattoo of a love bite kiss on his shoulder. It wasn't the real thing. I couldn't decide if he was missing his girlfriend or wishing he had one, but he looked very sad. Here's the guy doing a selfie with him. There's people going on a little motor scooter with a dog. I thought that was... And taking a selfie as well. And then we went on the canal on a canal trip, and they're telling us about King Henry the Sailor. So I kind of drew a sketch of what I thought he would look like, and he's sitting here. I wonder how they recognised me with a little ship on his head. So while we were waiting for the plane home, I started drawing this and kind of painted it on the plane. And this is King Henry's father, saying, "That blasted boy bringing down the family name of Sailor King. All he can think about is the width of his new pair of bell-bottom trousers." And this is Cousin Henry, the Flying Dutchman. So, yeah, and that's about it.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that, and if you did, why not go and have a look at another one of my videos, or try the mystery drawing. Make sure you're subscribed for new drawings every Monday and Friday. Check out my website shoorayner.com, and why not get my new book, Everyone Can Draw. In the meantime, keep drawing, practice, and I'll see you next time. You take care now. Bye bye.